What if the world's most dangerous choke point for oil and trade suddenly stopped being Iran's biggest weakness? For decades, the Strait of Hormuz has been one of the most strategically important waterways on the planet. A huge share of global energy flows through this narrow corridor, and for years, the United States has relied on maritime pressure, sanctions, and naval dominance to keep Iran under strain. But now, Tehran appears to be making a bold move that could weaken that pressure in a major way. A growing rail link with China that runs far beyond the reach of the Strait of Hormuz. This is not just a transport story. This is a geopolitical shift. And in today's video, we are breaking down what this new China-Iran rail route means, why it matters, and how it may reshape the balance of power across Eurasia and the Middle East. If you want to understand the future of global power, you have to follow the roads, rails, ports, and choke points that keep trade moving. Right now, Iran and China seem determined to build a route that avoids the pressure points Washington has long used against Tehran, the new rail strategy. Let's start with the basics. Recent reporting says freight trains are now running between China and Tehran through Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan, with travel times reportedly cut to around 12 to 15 days, far faster than traditional sea routes that can take 30 to 40 days or more. That speed matters because time is money in global trade. It also matters because overland trade is harder to choke off than maritime trade when a country faces naval pressure or sanctions. Iran is not building this rail connection just for convenience. It is building resilience. By shifting more trade onto land routes, Tehran is reducing its dependence on vulnerable sea lanes and weakening one of the most effective tools the U.S. has used against it: control over shipping routes, insurance systems, and maritime enforcement. And this is where the story gets bigger. For China, this is not just about Iran. It is about creating a broader Eurasian trade network under the Belt and Road framework that can reduce reliance on Western-dominated sea routes like the Strait of Malacca and the Suez Corridor. Why this matters? Why should viewers care about a rail line between China and Iran? Because this is about leverage. For years, the U.S. has had a powerful advantage in global trade politics: the ability to influence shipping routes, enforce sanctions through maritime surveillance, and pressure countries that depend on sea-based trade. Iran has been one of the biggest targets of that system. But if Tehran can move even part of its trade on a rail, it becomes harder to isolate economically. That does not mean Iran becomes untouchable. It does mean pressure becomes less effective. A country with diversified trade routes is harder to corner. A country with multiple corridors has more strategic flexibility. And that is exactly what Iran appears to be pursuing for China. The benefits are equally obvious. Beijing gains a more secure overland pathway into the Middle East, stronger access to Iranian goods and energy, and a transport network that is less exposed to naval confrontation. In a world where U.S.-China rivalry is intensifying, that kind of redundancy is valuable. The U.S. pressure campaign. Now let's talk about the U.S. side of the story. The latest reporting describes mounting maritime pressure targeting Iranian ports and oil exports, with Washington using naval strength in the Gulf to keep Tehran economically boxed in. That strategy has worked for years because Iran's economy has been deeply exposed to seaborne trade, but rail changes the equation. A rail corridor through Central Asia does not eliminate sanctions, but it gives Iran a way to move goods, sustain imports, and deepen economic ties outside the immediate reach of U.S. maritime enforcement. It also allows Iran to present itself as a major geopolitical development. Iran is trying to escape the trap of dependence. It means China is quietly building alternatives to Western domination